Good morning, 8th graders. Welcome back after a long weekend. Hopefully you all enjoyed the beautiful weather. Thank you, 8th graders. Today we have the privilege of hosting Holly Hakes. She will be sharing her wellness journey with us. So without further ado, let's please give Holly a warm CFMS welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, 8th graders. Do I have that right? All right. Well, this will be fun to get to speak with the 8th graders because you know a little bit more than some of the younger kids about trying to achieve a goal. I'm going to be sharing a story with you today about a wellness journey that I have been on that includes weightlifting. And so before we start, I want you to know that it's an honor to be here at CFMS today because I am a CFMS alumni. I was a student sitting right in those same chairs, I don't know, a few mere decades ago. I graduated in 1989, and I was in a school play. I know, I'm like old. You're hearing from an old lady today that can move some big weights, so this will be a good story. When I was in middle school, there was a school play, and I played Rapunzel on this very stage. So it's kind of fun to be back doing something a lot different. Very good. All right, so you guys are going to have to buckle up. I'm going to encourage you to hold your applause for me, although I do appreciate it, because I have a story to tell you that is going to take every minute of the time we have available today. So, again, my name is Holly Hakes. I'm thrilled to be here with you today, and I'm going to tell you a story about a wellness journey that I have taken to help me in managing my mental health. And the way I worked on managing my mental health was by weightlifting, and I've gotten to be pretty good at it. And so I've got a story to tell you not only about my weightlifting, but about the ways that weightlifting has helped me manage my mental health and how learning to manage my mental health better has helped me lift higher weights. I am from Chippewa Falls, and I actually only live a couple of blocks from here. And my husband and I own a business. I am a licensed professional counselor, so I help people with their mental health. And I do that through the business that my husband and I own called Hakes Wellness Solutions. Our office is on the East Hill near the Quick Trip. And the work that we do there is supporting people with their burdens, right? Things that might make them sad, losses they've experienced, traumas they've been exposed to. And one of the unique things about the work that we do is a reflection of my life and my husband's life. My husband spent his entire career working as a police officer. He was an SRO for a good part of his career, just like Officer Downey is for you. And I have worked in different parts of the criminal justice field as well. The counseling agency we have supports people that work in law enforcement and helps them with the sad things and the scary, burdensome things that they see and experience in their field. That business, running a business, is not easy. It's very stressful. And I've never run a business before in my life. I started that business in 2021, and so figuring out how to manage a business has been stressful. Supporting people that work in that industry with a lot of high stress and traumatic situations is also stressful and burdensome. In 2023, there were some bad things that happened in northwestern Wisconsin that impacted the clients we serve, police officers. Specifically, some of you probably remember, in Barron County, 2 police officers were killed doing their job, and in St. Croix County, another officer was killed doing her job. My job was to go and support those agencies and all of the people there that were very sad about that bad day and that bad thing happening. For me, that started to get to be really stressful. I was feeling sad. I was feeling overwhelmed, and I knew that in order to keep doing a good job, I was going to have to get some things in place for my business, but I was going to have to get some things in place for myself as well. What I do is I teach people how to manage stress and to take care of themselves when things are scary or sad, or when you're worrying, or you're anxious, or something that you can't control, is burdening you. I teach people how to navigate those things. And I knew that if I was going to run the business that I run and do a good job on it, I was going to need to make sure that I didn't just talk the talk, but that I walked the walk. I needed to practice what I preached, right? And that is how you live a life of integrity. If you go through your life and you carry yourself in a manner that's consistent with your character, if you walk your talk, you're living a life of integrity, okay? And I knew I needed to do that. I needed to lean into that, and I needed to do what I could do to take good care of myself, not only because I'm important, but because it was an important example for me to set for everyone else. One of the things I teach people at a very basic level, if something is creating a stress for you, and you're having anxiety or difficulty sleeping or feeling irritable or sad, one of the very first things that you can do to help support yourself through that is to take better care of yourself. Better care of yourself meaning eating healthy, drinking water, getting more sleep, exercising. Taking better care of your body supports your brain in processing those emotions that are burdensome and difficult for you. In other words, if it's hard to self-manage whatever's going on for you, whatever stressors are going on in your life, the very first thing that can help is by taking better care of yourself. So, in that time, in 2023, I was a member of CrossFit Chippewa Falls. Have any of you here heard of CrossFit Chippewa before? Right? Yes. Probably some people that are athletes in this room, I wouldn't doubt. Some of you maybe have even been there or have done some training with a CrossFit coach. I've been a member of CrossFit Chippewa Falls for like 14 years. That time in April of 23, I knew that when you're worrying, your right brain is real busy. If you are focusing on something that takes technique or math or calculation or organization, that's your left brain working. One of the ways you can make your emotions a little bit better is by using your left brain. CrossFit Chippewa Falls and their coach, Derek Nettie, at that time was offering a weightlifting clinic. Weightlifting, I'm going to tell you about it, is some certain specific lifts that are sort of technical. They require technique. I'm strong naturally, but my form in weightlifting was terrible. My technique was terrible. Still to this day probably isn't all that great. So I decided that I was going to go to this seminar that Coach Nettie was training for 13 weeks. You went 2 times a week to work on improving your form in weightlifting. I decided I would do that because I thought that would help me with my emotions. And what happened is that I ended up being pretty good at it, and it turned into me competing in both national and international events in the year and a half since then, culminating with me winning a world championship at a meet in September of last year in Las Vegas. So I'm here to tell you about that journey and some of the things I learned along the way that helped me with my wellness and my lifting, but that also can help you with whatever it is that you are wanting to achieve in your life. So I started that Olympic weightlifting training session with Coach Nettie, and at the end of 2023, let me back up here a second. I started that session with Coach Nettie talking about weightlifting. So let me first teach you about weightlifting. And so what I want to teach you first is that weightlifting is 2 very specific lifts, a clean and jerk and a snatch. Powerlifting is the back squat, the deadlift, and the bench press, okay? So 2 different kinds of lifting. Most of you that spend time in the gym are probably done back squats, bench press, deadlift. Not as many people are doing clean and jerk and snatch because there's some more technique involved. So that's just educating you about the type of lifts. I'm going to demonstrate those for you in just a second and explain it to you in more detail. But before I do that, I also wanted to help you understand that when we lift, we're lifting in kilograms. So this bar that you see up here right now has 10 kilogram plates on each side of the bar. Each kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds. So when you are lifting and doing weightlifting, we're having to calculate what we have on the bar in kilograms. So this bar, for example, The bar is a women's bar. It weighs 15 kilograms. I've put two 10-pound plates on there, so 15, 25, 35 kilograms. Doing that math, anybody have a guess about what that is for a weight? Put your hand up, I'll call on you. Anybody got an idea? What do you think? 70 pounds, you guessed? 75. I think it's 77.2, exactly. Honestly, on my phone, I have a calculator where I can put in the pounds and it will tell me in kilograms or vice versa. That's how I keep track of it. So while this bar doesn't look very heavy, it actually is heavier than it looks. Those plates are a little bit heavier than they seem because they are, 20-some pounds apiece. So in the weightlifting world, the clean and jerk and the snatch are the two different lifts. And one of the things I want you to know about them, like I said, I'm very strong. I recently competed in a powerlifting competition and my deadlift was 363 pounds. This is 77 pounds, a lot less than that. But you are being required to move your body in different ways that are about mobility, okay? So part of the challenge for people with Olympic lifting is that it's about being mobile. When I'm gonna catch this snatch and show it to you, I'll be squatting this low. This is easy for you as teenagers to squat low like that. As you age, the very first thing to go is your flexibility. And so that squatting down and putting your hands over your head gets harder and harder and harder the older you get. I'm 55 years old. I have to spend a lot of time stretching, going and seeing my chiropractor, going and seeing a deep tissue massage person to try to be flexible enough to be able to lift these weights. So that's the first thing I wanted to tell you. The second thing I wanted to tell you is that the clean and jerk, there are a couple different ways that you can do the clean and jerk. It's sort of like two movements. So the first movement is the clean. And in the clean, basically what you're doing is you're pulling it from the ground and basically lifting it right to here first. So I'll show you how that goes. This is a clean. So that's the first part of the lift. The second part of the lift is the jerk. I'll be pushing the bar over my head, and there's a couple of ways that you can do it. One of the ways is a push jerk, where I'm just going to dip, push the bar straight over my head, and my elbows need to be locked out in order for the lift to be good. So the push jerk is like this. Stand it up, okay? So that was a clean and a jerk. There is more than one way that you can do a jerk. I'm gonna show you some videos of me competing in a little bit. And in all of those videos, you'll see me doing a push jerk. The split jerk is the other way that you do it. And in the picture you see up there, that is illustrating a split jerk. For me, the split jerk was a little bit harder, and it was harder because it was hard on my knees. So my first year and a half of competing, I have done the push jerk, a little easier on my knees. However, the split jerk, theoretically, you should be able to lift more weights. It's really about physics. Weightlifting is very much about physics. Angle of the bar, path above the bar, where the energy is coming from your legs. And so if I can get better at the split jerk, which I'm working on right now, hopefully I'm gonna be able to get a bigger lift. So this time I'll show you the split jerk. Sort of the same business, right? I'm gonna pick it up and clean it. And this time, when I do the jerk, you'll see that my legs will look different. And then you stand it up, okay? That is harder for me, I guess just because it's new. It takes a lot of practice to be able to get the technique down. Speaking of practice, there's been a lot of hours put into this. I practice at CrossFit Chippewa Falls 5 days a week. I'm there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And in each of those sessions, I'm there for 2.5 hours. 1 hour of it is just warming up and stretching. You all probably wouldn't need that kind of warm-up, but I do because of my age and to work on my mobility so that I don't get injured, okay? So that's the first weightlifting lift, is the clean and jerk. The second one is this one on the bottom, and it's called the snatch. What's different about the snatch is that you have a wide arm. So my arms will be wide on the bar, and when I pick it up, it's gonna go straight over my head, and I'm gonna catch it at the bottom. Snatch is difficult, mostly, I think, because of that catch. It's hard for me to have the bar wide over my head and my bottom low to the ground. But I'll show you what that movement looks like. Like that. Ooh, and I caught that one in my heels. Didn't warm up for an hour, I can tell. That are the two weightlifting movements. I also brought with me some of the gear that we use weightlifting to show you today. We wear a special kind of shoe called lifters. Actually, the lifters are what, not having them on is what pushed me back in my butt a little bit on that lift. The lifters are a little bit weighted on the back to help you with your weight in your heels, and they're very flat. They're very flat because I want my feet to land flat in order to help me in catching the bar. So we use these. We also will use belts, and when you put on a weightlifting belt, basically what it does is help you provide some support to your back and also some support to the front. In all of the people I've watched weightlifting, most people use these, but not all. We also use knee pads, knee reinforcement. I've noticed the older athletes use these because our knees are a little more vintage. Some of the younger athletes don't use them as much, but it helps provide some stability and confidence to your knees. And then we will also use wrist wraps. You got to see both of those lifts. When you get to the top of them, a lot of your weight is sitting right in your wrist, right? And so I like to wear these wrist wraps because they provide a little bit of reinforcement to parts of my body that need the extra support. So what I really wanted to take away from this for you is to help you understand that weightlifting, these two lifts, and powerlifting are two different things. Weightlifting happens to be a type of lifting competition that is done during the Olympics, okay? Anybody been watching the Olympics? Right? It's so cool. Well, you can go to the Olympics as a weightlifter and compete, and that's why it's often referenced as Olympic weightlifting, because it's the kind of weightlifting you do at the Olympics. And so that becomes important because I wanted to just share with you that we are very rich in our history in northwestern Wisconsin because a real Olympian, Mary Tyson Lappin, is from Eau Claire, and she competed in the Paris Olympics in 2024 and got 5th place. Mary is 35 years old, and she competes in the Olympic weightlifting events, meaning she does both of the lifts I just demonstrated for you. Her competition best lifts are 120 kilograms in the snatch, 164 kilograms in the clean and jerk, and 280 kilograms total, which is your snatch plus your clean and jerk together, give you a total score. At the bottom, I converted that to show you what that is in pounds. Mary is able, at 35 years old, to snatch 264 pounds up over her head with that broad, wide arm. Her clean and jerk is 361. She is clean and jerking as much as I deadlift. It is a lot of weight. And her total is 626 kilograms. She's an Olympian. I am not an Olympian, although people ask me often if I am. And I think they get confused because of the Olympic weightlifting title, that they'll ask me if I'm going to the Olympics. I'm not going to go to the Olympics. I would have to lift a lot more weight than I am, I'm way too old, although 35 years old is somewhat old for an Olympian. And so Mary Tyson is something very special and very talented. So this is not an Olympian, Holly Hakes. I am 55 years old. My hometown is Chippewa Falls. I competed at the 2025 International Masters Weightlifting Association World Championship, which I'll tell you about here in a little bit. I got 1st place at it, and my competition best lifts are 62 kilograms on the snatch, 82 kilograms on the clean and jerk, and you add them together, 144 is my best total. That equals 136 pounds for the snatch, 180 pounds for the clean and jerk, and 317 pounds for the total. So I just wanted to give you that in comparison. I think it's sort of interesting. Right here in northwestern Wisconsin, we have 2 female weightlifters that are pretty good, and I know that there are weightlifters in this room that could be very good too, and maybe you'll start to be curious about whether it might be for you, whether it might be a sport for you. So remember I said I was going to go to Coach Nette's seminar? He was going to teach about the Olympic lifts. I went to that, and I went 2 days a week for 13 weeks, and at the end of it, we did a competition at our gym at CrossFit Chippewa. That was in November of 23. I got first place at that meet. Coach Nette announced to the audience that if I were to go and compete at a master's event, a master's competition for people that were 35 years or older, that for my age and weight, the lift that I had just gotten there would set a national record. I was like, wait, what? How can that even be? I said to him, there are so many people at our gym that can lift more than that. His answer was, they are not in their 50s. They're much younger than you. I kind of forget sometimes. When you get older, you kind of forget that everybody is younger than you, and you still think you should be able to do what they could do. So he said, would you like to try? I said, what do I have to do? And he said, in order to do it, I would have to sign up with this group called USA Masters Weightlifting Association. I would have to sign up for their group. You had to pay a membership fee. And then I would have to go to one of their weightlifting events. They only have 3 events a year in the United States, and they're in all different parts, not around here. It was going to involve some travel. And so I signed up for it, and we made an arrangement that we were going to go to the first meet that was available to us, which wasn't available for a whole nother year, not until December of 24, and that meet was in Philadelphia. So in the meantime, that year we had available, it was time to get serious and really start practicing. And so what we did is we decided to go to some competitions that were in the cities in Minnesota. They weren't masters events, they were for all ages, but it was a good place for me to practice. So on the left, the very first meet I did was in April of 24, and I did okay there. It wasn't amazing or anything, but it was my first competition, so it gave me an opportunity of what it's like to be judged and how the meet works. Then in August of 24, we went to another one in the cities, and I did better at that one. I got first place at that one, and I was named best lifter for my age. The way they decide who the best lifter is, because there are different ages of people and different sizes of bodies, if you weigh more, I weigh a lot, I can lift more. If there are other weightlifters that might be more thin and lighter in weight, they might not be able to lift as much. So there's a formula that they put everybody in, and you get so many points for how much you weigh and so many points for how old you are, and at the end, then that number helps to designate who the best lifter is across an age bracket. For my age bracket of 55 to 59, I got first place at that meet, so that was pretty good. We were trying to get ready for that very first competition that I was going to be going to in Philadelphia. Next, I go to Philadelphia, so it's going to be my very first meet. And as I tell you the story about it, you're going to be able to see some video playing of me doing the lifts. So when you go to these meets, you get 3 tries at each one of your lifts. The first lift that you do is the snatch. That's the wide-armed one, okay? The second lift that you do is the clean and jerk. And then at these master level events, for fun, if you want, you can get in an extra competition that is a deadlift competition. Every time I've gone to these meets, I've done the deadlift competitions, and so you'll see some deadlifts at the end of this reel. And my deadlift is usually 300 to 350, somewhere in there. I recently competed at a powerlifting competition where I got my PR of 363 pounds, but it just gives you some idea of what you're seeing there. So this meet was the first time in a national meet. It was nerve-wracking. I mean, there's like a stage, and they're announcing you. And if you remember, the coach had said, if you could go to this meet and do what you just lifted at our gym, you could get a national record. Well, that wasn't the national record. I think my next lift is. That's what I went to this meet to try and achieve. If I could get an 82 kilogram clean and jerk, which I think is this lift right here, I was going to set a national record for my age and weight. Like I said, it was nerve-wracking. When you get up on the stage, they announce your name, and then they say, see if this is it. Yes, it is. I was so excited I forgot to put it down. That's what happened in that video. I had my eyes closed. I went, I hope it's good, I hope it's good. And it was. When you get up there, they're like, and this will be a national record attempt by Holly Hakes. And then you're like, it's a little nerve-wracking. So this meet was really an opportunity for me to become more aware of the whole competition circuit, of what my body was doing, and to become better at managing all of it. Getting the lifts, correcting my form, sticking the landing, making sure that the lift counts so that I can get the credit for it, standing there when I'm supposed to, putting the bar down when I'm supposed to, not closing my eyes so I know when I'm supposed to put the bar down. It was just a really good experience for me to do all of those things, and then I got to try out some of those deadlifts too, which were kind of fun. But it was also my first time like flying somewhere, competing, flying home. I just got a lot more experience with what it is all like. One of the things that happened after this competition, at this competition I competed at age 50. One of the things that happened next was I turned 55. And I realized that that weight I had just gotten right there, that 82, as a 50 to 55-year-old, 50 to 54, if I lifted that same weight as a 55-year-old, I was going to set a world record. So things started to get real quick. I started to get very curious about what could happen. What do you mean I could set a world record? A world record? Is that even real? And so we immediately, after learning that, at this meet with my coach, my sister, my brother-in-law, my husband, and me, we immediately on the way back from Philadelphia were making plans to go to another meet in Boise, Idaho, to see if I could do that same lift to get a world record. So you can imagine, talking about nerves, I started to get a little nervous. World record? I'm going to go to another meet to try to get a world record? Is that even possible? That doesn't even seem like that could be true. Are you sure? Is the math right? We went to Boise to try to set the world record. And you can see that what I wanted to learn from this experience, and I'm going to play the video for you in a second, is this competition made me realize I needed to do a better job of managing my nerves. In the snatches, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but on the board in the back, if you get red lights, the lift is no good. And I got 2 red lights. That lift was no good. My form was not good. My elbows were bent. This next one, I was hoping I could get it, because what happens is if you do 3 attempts and you don't get any of them, you're disqualified. You're done. And then I wouldn't be able to try the clean and jerk, which was what I went there for, which was the world record. So the first snatch was no good. The second snatch was barely good. This third snatch is no good. And I was a bundle of nerves. In the back at that meet, when I was warming up, I was totally nervous. I had that world record thing in my head. I was nervous. And you know what I started to do? I started to not talk nicely to myself. In my head, I was self-doubting. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm really strong enough. I'm not sure if I should really be here. Why am I doing this? You're too old. You haven't worked hard enough. All of these negative thoughts. What do you think happens if you go out to a bar telling yourself that you can't do it? What do you think happens? You don't do it, right? So my negative thoughts were real bad. The good news is I did manage to go there, pull myself together, and I did get the right lift to get the world record. I don't know if it's this one, it was the one before it, but I got the world record. And they did say, this will be a world record attempt by Holly Hakes. And that made me very nervous. Kind of wanted to puke in my mouth. It wasn't a good feeling. But I did it. I did the deadlift competition. I won first place. I set world and national records. I set a national record in the total. And I left there feeling disappointed in myself. That's kind of nonsense, right? If you go and you do your best, there's nothing to be disappointed in. Remember I said I wasn't talking very nicely to myself? That's when I realized that I was going to need to start practicing what I preach for mental health. When you are talking negatively to yourself, it's absolute poison to you. And the key to stop doing it is to first hear yourself doing it, and then to challenge that thought and change the radio station in your head to something more positive. I had to start to work on that. There are other things that you can do too to help you in managing your mental health and your thinking. One of them that I did is evidenced here. This is my workout journal. I jot out my whole workout every day, and that's where I document it. And I started to put quotes at the bottom of each page. I was reading a book about performance and championships. I was looking up things online, and I was pulling quotes that would be helpful to me and writing them in my journal. So this particular one says, doubting yourself is normal. Letting it stop you is a choice. In Boise, I was doubting myself a lot. And it stopped me. And so I needed to figure out how to do that differently, and journaling and writing down quotes and keeping track of things on paper helped me a lot. Journaling is something that all of you can do. And it doesn't have to be Dear Diary kind of journal. It just might be what you keep track of your homework in, or how you track what you did for exercise that day, or give yourself a goal, or write a positive quote, or whatever it might be. Journaling can work for anyone in different ways. That's the way that I did it. One of the other things my coach had me do was he had me start listening to music. Backstage in Boise, I wasn't listening to any music, and I was super nervous. He felt like listening to music might help me think of something else. How many of you listen to music to help you manage your mood? Right? Super common thing to do. I started doing that during my workouts, and then he had me practice it at the gym. So each day I would come to the gym, he'd have me put my headphones in, I'd do my warm-up, I'd do all the things, I'd leave my music on until it was time for me to listen to him. We started practicing that as part of the routine. A couple of other things that I know as a counselor that can help with anxiety. One of them is something I know that you know, it's probably been taught to you in school, is simple breathing exercises. So I started practicing that. When I would approach the bar, especially at nationals, that one where I didn't do very good, or I felt like I didn't do very good, I could feel the anxiety here in my stomach. And so I started doing a deep breathing where I take a deep breath in and let that breath out, and I'd take another breath, however many I needed, until this anxiety was no longer there. Then I would approach the bar. Another technique that I used in weightlifting that can help you too, if you find that your nerves, you're anxious, your emotions are up, if you just shake your hands right and left like this, or tap the sides of your legs, as long as you tell yourself something positive when you do that, like I've got this, it can help your brain perform, okay? So I started doing this shaking sometimes. I started to do grounding techniques where I would feel the floor under my feet, and you'll see in one of the videos that I really started kind of wiggling my butt kind of to help me feel the floor. Seeing the floor was a reminder to me that my legs, these lifts are done with your legs. You feel like it has to be done with your arms, but it's done with your legs. And your legs is where your power is, okay? So I started doing the breathing, I started doing the shaking and the tapping, I started doing the grounding, I started walking my talk because I was teaching that to the people that I support professionally. So we really started working on managing my emotions better, so when we would get to the next stage, that I would have some improved confidence. My coach was talking to me about how I needed to improve my confidence, which was weird for me because I've always thought of myself as being fairly confident, but when I started thinking about it, I thought, well, you wouldn't be telling yourself that you weren't good enough if you were confident, would you? You wouldn't be saying, I don't think I can do this. So I did need to work on my confidence. I remember one time Coach Nettie said to me, when are you going to start believing that you're one of the strongest women in the world? That seemed like a crazy sentence. That seemed like something I made up or dreamt. So I did have to work on that. I had to work on that belief because if we were going to go to the next stage, which was the World Championships, I was going to need to get my head in the game. So when I went to nationals and set that record and everything, I qualified to compete at the World Championship. Oddly enough, or ironically, or maybe it was supposed to be this way, in 2025, the World Championship was in Las Vegas. And it was the first time in 9 years that it had been in the United States. Just so happened to be the year I'm doing it and the year I qualified. So it was perfectly timed. I qualified for the World Championship. It's an international competition. There were 1,200 athletes there. 66 of them were in my age bracket. I decided that we were going to go to Vegas and try that, given that it was an opportunity that we might not get again, and I needed to work on my confidence big time. I also needed to work on a couple of other things that I was thinking wrong about. One of them was I love to celebrate the accomplishments of other people and put posts on Facebook and send notes and cards and congratulation emails and texts, but I'm not very good at getting them myself. People give them to me, I feel kind of uncomfortable. I needed to work on it being okay to be recognized and celebrated. Coach Nettie would always write our achievements on the board at the gym. This is an award I was nominated for by the USA Weightlifting Association for perseverance. They were recognizing me for persevering through hard times to try and accomplish something despite those things. I needed to know it was okay to be celebrated, and I also needed to let people help me. I'm a helper of people. Why was it hard for me to let people help me? I don't know. I felt like somebody else needed the help more than me, and I didn't deserve it. And what happened is going to Vegas was not cheap. We had to go to Vegas, we had to enroll for the competition, we had to stay overnight, we had to be there several days. I'm running a new business, I didn't have very much money, and my sister decided she was going to start a fundraiser. And so what she did is she designed these t-shirts that I have on, and on the back, people were able to make a donation and sponsor me for the competition, which helped me raise enough money to be able to go to the competition and also to help me buy this Olympic weightlifting bar, which is a special bar that's just for women, just for Olympic weightlifting. It's from Alikio, which is a weightlifting company in Sweden. That bar, believe it or not, costs $1,000. Is that crazy? I know. However, what that gave me was some confidence, because at the weightlifting competition, that's the bar they use. So I have been training with the exact bar that I had. So I had to let people help me. These are all the people that went to Las Vegas to watch me. We had 25 people in total, many of them my family, but also many of them my friends, many of them gym friends that traveled to Vegas to watch me lift. They were amazing. So we go to Las Vegas, and here's the World Championship. Now let me set it up, because what you're going to see first is the snatch. That's the wide one, okay? The snatch is the lift that I'm not as good at. I'm better at the clean and jerk, and the snatch is a little bit harder for me, and so it wasn't my strength. I'm going to this competition, and the number one competition that I have is the woman that won the World Championship the last several years in a row and held all the world records, and she was from Iceland. Her name was Anna. She is tall and strong and scary. She scared me. I knew I was going to have to work very hard to beat Anna, because she had many years of experience, and I'm the newcomer, right? She had tons of competition experience. I didn't have many. She was tall and strong and Icelandic, and she talked like this. She was scary. So we go to the competition. She was much better at the snatch than I was. I'm better at the clean and jerk than she was. So I knew if I could beat her in the snatch, I could probably beat her outright, because I was confident I could get her in the clean and jerk. So you're going to watch. You're going to see 3 snatches. The first one is a pretty good snatch for me. The second one was a pretty good snatch for me. And then at third one, Coach Nettie came back to me and said, do you want to try to do 61 kilograms and tie her world record? Or do you want to try 62 to beat it? And I said, I want to beat it. Let's do 62. So you're going to be able to tell which one is 62, because I have a pretty big smile on my face. So this is the first one, 57. I mean, wholly nervous. This is Worlds, big stage, many more people, many more cameras. I think that's the second one. And this one with the blue, this is the one that sets the world record. And I am very happy about that. And then Anna gets out there and tries 63, and she missed. So I beat her, because she had a 61. I went for 62. She missed 63. I beat her in that. On the clean and jerk, so on that snatch, I was first place, and I got the national and the world record. If I could get a clean and jerk of 82, I was also going to set a national and world record in that, and that's this one right here. So this one was also going to get me first place in all of the records, if I could get it, which I did, because the arms were locked. You'll see on the third one, I don't get it. And what happens on that third one is the bar gets out in front of me a little bit too much, and my elbows bend. And so you'll get to see, I mean, getting disqualified on a lift doesn't take a lot. There it was. Little bit of elbow bend disqualified me. I went on to do the deadlift for funsies. And the bottom line is, at the end of the day, I ended up being first place in all of those lifts, but something really extraordinary happened. There were 66 lifters in the 50 to 59 class, weighing everything from 60 kilograms to I'm in the 86 kilogram category of body weight. When they put the magic formula on it, my lifts were good enough that I won best lifter. And that is a crazy achievement at a national level, international level. We kind of were completely shocked. And so I wanted to show you that this was the medal they gave me for best lifter, great big honkin' one. And these, I got 3 of these for all of my lifts. I got to stand on a podium, and they played the national anthem for me, to which, you kids won't understand this, I started crying. That was quite a moment to have the national anthem played for you. It was a very good achievement. And so, I needed to learn a bunch of things during that. I needed to learn to be patient. I needed to learn to trust myself, manage my emotions, all of these different things. But I wanted to show you, remember how I talked about the breathing and the grounding and all of those different things? I want you to see how I did that on that snatch. That snatch, I knew, if I could get it, I was probably going to win. I was nervous, like really, really nervous. So I want you to watch this video because you're going to be able to see me practicing. That's where he's saying it's a world record attempt. Now you'll get to see me breathe. One breath there. Then I approach the bar. See the arms. Now you get to watch my shaking my feet, wiggling my butt a little bit to get my feet into the ground. To help me get what I needed to get. And it's a good look. World record attempt. There's a lot of pressure, right? A lot of pressure in my job, a lot of pressure running a business, a lot of pressure doing all of these things. But I needed to remember that pressure is a privilege. Not everyone has the opportunity to do these things, to run their own business, and I needed to remember to be grateful for that. It helped me a lot to have a good coach. Derek Nettie is a world-class coach, and he was very good at not only helping me move my body, but helping me manage my brain and not get too negative about things, and helping me to really just be my best. So I think what I wanted you to know about this, because I can't read that. Does that say 5 after right now? Yes, it does? Okay. What I wanted to tell you is that you can do anything you put your mind to. You just have to manage your mind. And that might mean that you need to manage the mental health implications of the things that you're doing that cause you stress as well along the way. You can do great things, believe in yourself, let people help you. You have coaches all over the place that could help you. Do your very best, and thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be here with you all today.
Thank you so much, Holly, for sharing your journey with us today. 8th graders, thank you for being such a responsible and welcoming audience. We can have the starfish exit out these doors. Dolphin team, if you want to exit